share my screen. Don't need camera. That one. All right. So what we're trying to do is the variation on order entry for anatomical pathology, for AP, right? And we have we probably have 3 workflows. We have a workflow where AP is, and I'll just zoom into these screens because you can see that a bit better, where AP is the Delphic AP is the LAS. Okay, so just in the same way as we use, we're designing the new order entry screen for someone to, basically receive a sample in and enter it. That'll be exactly the same for AP. Okay, so that's one workflow. They just need to enter it exactly like we've been designing. The second workflow is currently they will do registration in Delphic LAS, again, which is what we're designing for, and just put a very basic holding test, if you like, into the registration. It then goes into a list of everything that has been sort of registered, and then the anatomical pathology department then selects off the list and then completes the AP registration with all the missing information. Okay, so it's sort of like it's pre-registered, so it ends up on a list. They still have the form, they still have the sample, and they complete the registration in the AP registration screen. Okay, so that's workflow 2. Workflow 3 is very similar to 2, except that the registration comes from an external system. So for example, it's we would call it an electronic order. So a clinician has placed the order in a hospital system, and it's come directly through from that hospital system via an interface into Delphic AP. The difference in the 2 workflows is that, one, if it was registered from the Delphic LAS of Delphic AP, it would have a request ID would be completed, like in this one here. If it's come from an electronic order, usually it just comes through like this. So it's registered, but it actually hasn't had a request ID added yet. The other difference to the 2 workflows is when it's coming directly from the Delphic LAS in, so this line 2 example, Albert Sysmex, you don't really have a big list. If it's on the list, you've got the specimen because it's being registered, and then the AP team, once they get that sample, they just complete the registration, and then it disappears off the list. So this list is very manageable about what is coming. Sometimes those 2 people, the Delphic LAS registration person, could be literally sitting 2 meters away from each other. So they do one and hand it over to the other. I've seen that. Sometimes they could be in another room. Sometimes they could be in another building. But essentially, if it's registered, and it goes on the list, the sample's there. And so it's only a short amount of time before it's received. And so then it drops off the list because the specimen receipt is completed in the registration screen. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Whereas the third workflow, the electronic order workflow that's coming from a outside system, like a hospital system, the challenge we have in that situation is things can get registered in those systems anytime for sample collection at any time. So this list grows, and this is what we have in the Netherlands in particular. This list is nearly unusable because there is so much on it. Stuff might not turn up for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then it suddenly turns up. Or it actually may never turn up. They ordered it, but it got cancelled. For all sorts of different scenarios, but this list gets massive. But they don't particularly care because when they get a sample, they scan that sample and Delphi KP can find it. And so then once it's scanned and found, it goes straight to this screen, and then they just complete the registration. So that the action of completing the registration, whether it's from scenario 1, which is you just start in this screen, whether it's scenario 2 or scenario 3, the action here is pretty much the same. There may be most of the information, there may be some of the information, there may be half the information that they have to complete. So this step is common to it all. With this list being full of everything, currently in our system we have some performance issues because this can have thousands of entries. that's how chaotic it can get. So it's just a useless list. You may as well not even have a list because if you've got 1,000 entries, you're not looking for anything. They just scan and hopefully it finds it. So they're the 3 different workflows. What we want to achieve with Delphi KP is to be able to primarily modify our registration concept to focus on AP. So using the same concept, pretty much exactly the same, but how do we just tweak it to manage the slight differences for AP, which I'll go through in a minute. However, we need to introduce a replacement for this list, because for AP registration, 2 of the most common scenarios, two of the most common scenarios use this list. So we will eventually need a list for the Delphic LIS as well once we get to sample order receipting. But we're happy to sort of go, let's do version 1 focused on AP, and once we get to the LIS down the track a bit, we can either go, it works really well, or we might need to modify it to do it for the LIS, which is fine in the future. Any questions at this stage?
Yeah, so my first question here is the workflow 1 is pretty similar, pretty easy to understand, because I think it's just like when the user have a specimen, a sample, they need to typing the details here, and it's pretty much similar to the entry. But for the workflow 2 and 3, so what is the journey that using this AP system that you're thinking, like they going into a list of pending order and then clicking on each of the items here to check the detail information, which is the second screen in this screen that you are showing. Is that true?
Yeah. So if I actually just do this, make sure they're grouped. No, it's grouped good. If I actually just shrink these down a bit. So I don't have a. So this is the flow for. This is the flow for each of these, and this could be So two is Delphic LIS. And then three would be external. From a hospital system, and we would call that a E order. Okay, so really it's the same. There's not really any difference in there's not really any difference in 2 and 3. The difference in 2, actually, let's do it like that. The difference between this is the only real difference is 2 and 3 is the size of the list, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
So I imagine that at the start in the flow, the user can have a choice to go into workflow 1, 2, or 3 at first, and then if they want to go into the workflow 1, they just select maybe workflow 1 option, and then go straight to the entry screen. And if they want to select the workflow 2, they clicking on maybe a button called Delphic LOS, and then they see the list that have the pending order. Is that
let's
true?
call let's come back to this one a little bit, because at the moment this is specific. 2 is specific to the Delphic LAS, right? Whereas, and you know, this is going to change. This was Delphic Reg with all, and this is now moving toward. This is going to change to order entry, right? So, do you know what I mean? Like very soon, Delphic Reg is gone, and they will be doing this in the new order entry. So, what in some ways, this workflow is going to be evolve order entry to a list to evolve order entry, which doesn't necessarily make sense. But it still may, right? Because potentially, the reason why this happens, like why if we are in a Delphic product, isn't this workflow just number 1? Why do they bother doing it in the Delphic LA? Why don't they just go straight here? You know, it seems a non-value-added step to do it in Delphic Reg when you're just going to do it again here anyway. That's probably a little bit historical, but it's also because in 2, workflow 1 is Delphic AP is the LAS, if that makes sense. So there is nothing else. It's just a single product. In 2, when there is the Delphic LAS, routine data entry people do not have AP knowledge don't have AP knowledge, which is why it's very simple. And then they leave, so they leave detail to AP staff. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Right.
so
So that's the when you're going down two, they do a real basic order entry.
oh, okay.
And so then the AP staff. So if you think there's a big line down here, because this is core lab. This is just routine people. This is AP specialty people. Right. So when the sample moves from here to here, you're taking it from a generalist to a specialist. And so in this number two workflow, they don't have necessarily the specialist knowledge to get the registration completely correct. So they do a very basic one. The specialist then picks it off the list and adds all the additional detail. Does that make sense?
Oh, so in the orange tree, let me quickly share my screen a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have, can you see my screen?
Yep, that's popped up now.
Yeah, so we have a sidebar for the user to selecting the orange tree from type. And we have microbiology and histology. So do you think that the histology form in here is the workflow number one?
Possibly. So this is the flexibility we're giving, right? Possibly, yeah. So a lab might decide, actually, our generalists are smart enough, and there is enough information on the request form for them to actually do the registration properly, and so we'll let them. Other labs might go, no, actually the information doesn't exist, and the people are not, they're just not enough knowledge. So we might create in our core form, we might just have a add test called surgical, which down here, down in the specimens, might just come up as a generic histo specimen with no details, and that's all they add. So it's just that they add one test, and they don't even really worry, and we might not even configure specimens to come up for it, because it's not relevant, right? So yeah, it could be in the core form. They could go to the histo form and do it, but I'm probably envisaging the histo form to be our new histology variation, where we actually have all the exact details that the histology lab needs. Okay. The other difference is that in histology, in anatomical pathology, the test is not important. The test is usually generic. Remember how we've been talking about in what you've just been designing. It's a material. There's a request, there's materials, and there's procedures, sort of thing. So like there's the pot, there's the block, there's the slide, and then there's the H&E stain or the PAS stain, or something like that. That's what's important in histo. All of that gets put under one test request called surgical or non-surgical. The test is irrelevant. The test is more sending you down a pathway. Is this a cytology sample or is this a histology sample? That's the test request. So you're not having to request, okay, I've got to request a PAS stain, an H&E stain, a this stain, a this. You don't have to request all these tests in histology. And so this concept that we've got for the core, where actually you do have to request all these tests, because each of these tests is its own thing on an analyzer somewhere, and you have to have all the tests for them to run. Histology isn't. you order surgical, and then everything is driven off the specimen. So it's a flip, if you like. Test is irrelevant, well,
Okay.
slightly relevant. Specimens is what you have to add, and you have to add the right specimen, the right number of specimens, and it's the specimen that then drives all those materials down the track. So you can see that our order entry process is really a bit flipped. Tests are not the focus, specimens are the focus, and the detail of what is actually going to get done is part of the specimen rather than a part of a test.
Okay, so we will have an option here for the user to select surgical when they can select the specimen. It is core form, right? This is maybe the
yeah. So in the core form, if we're thinking about pathway 2, and I'll just take a screenshot of this so you can put it, and I'll put it in the chat for you. And I can just so you can look at it while you're still sharing your screen.
Okay.
So if I'm let's say I'm registering a whole lot of histology samples in, I actually don't really want to have to select surgical every time, because I've got 10 samples that they're all surgical. So it's in a way, it's like when I get to my next sample, I just want it to be surgical again, potentially. So it might be that we want an option to be able to default to the previous test was ordered. We just order the same again. So you don't have to fill it in. If you want to change it. So there could be different ways we think about how we even select the test, depending on the workflow. If it's workflow number 1, and I'm just registering directly into my histology form, and I am a specialist. So in workflow number 1, if you want to add that, workflow number 1 is it would be specialist.
Yeah, so for the workflow number 1, we can have the histology form in here for specialist. Yep. And they can directly fill in all the detailed information in here.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
And for workflow number 2 and 3, so the user here is the generalist, and they fill in the details in maybe the core form.
3. 2, yes. 3. 3 would generally be a specialist as well. Okay, because workflow 3 is generally coming from, that's probably should have done them in different order. Workflow 3 is Delphic AP is also the list, but it's just an electronic order coming into the list. So I'll add that to the notes as well. So Delphic AP is the LAS in 3 as well. Does that make sense? So the 2 is the odd one out. Okay, 1 Delphic AP is the LAS, and it's just direct order entry. 3 Delphic AP is the LAS. It's just that we are receiving an electronic order in from an external system, but it's still going to be a specialist that deals with it.
Okay. So 1
and 3 are specialists.
Okay.
2 is the generalist.
Okay. So I start with the workflow 2 first, and so with the workflow 2, the user go in here, they typing they filling the core form, and then we have I think we need to have an action to to let user start with the AP flow, like let this kind of entry go to the list that we mentioned before, right?
Yeah, that's got to be that. So the list. So if once the generalist enters it in, their job is done. They don't care about anything else
Okay.
at all, right? So they would just be entering it in. It would then go to the list, but the list is then in the hands of the specialist
Okay.
team. So I don't think to be honest, for workflow 2, don't think we need to change much. A lab might decide to design a core form 2, but they may just use the standard old form, right? And where they just add in a very basic histo test that means nothing, that just gets it onto the list, and so they can put a label, put a lab number on the pot in the form and send it off to the histo lab. So we probably don't need to change too much for scenario number 2.
Okay.
So what we're really focusing on for this round of development is 1 and 3. Now, because if we get 1 and 3 right, then 2 can use it if they want to, or they can use the core if they want to. They could use a core form if they want to keep it simple, or if they want to, they can configure the histology form if they want to.
Okay. So with the workflow 3, so with the workflow 3, the starting point of this is a list, right? A list.
Workflow 3, yes. So the first interaction for someone is the list. Yes, correct.
Okay, see the list. So where do you think is suitable for we to put the list? Like this is the...
A new screen. New screen.
Okay, so this is the menu of the LS.
Do you just want to start sharing again?
Okay, sorry. Okay, do you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the menu of Defic LS. So which one do you think this will be suitable for the list?
It's going to be receipt. So that's what we call it, sample receipt.
Oh, okay. This one.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and the process for a LAS electronic order is actually exactly the same, right?
Okay.
But just that we want to focus this on AP to start with. We don't want to take into all the requirements that the general core lab has for sample receipt, which is quite a lot. We want to just at the moment focus it very much on AP. So this would be very very AP focused. So they may the AP might not have the auditing screen. They might have it. They might not. So we'll have to work out what the menu is, but yes, it will come under receipting.
Okay. Okay, so I think that's clear for me. So the user go in the receipt menu, and they will see the list, and they will clicking on one item, and it will lead to this IP detail screen.
Clicking or scanning.
Oh, okay. Clicking on scanning. Yeah, okay.
Yep. More likely scanning.
Okay.
Which gives us the option to think differently about the list. Because if we go in workflow 3, Yeah, if we go in workflow 3, we know that they pretty much exclusively just scan. Do we need a list at all? The answer to that is yes, but does it need to be necessarily part of the workflow, or is that somewhere they can go to if they need to? You know what I mean? Because if you just got a list and you're scanning it and it goes, yep, I'm on the list, perfect, and then I open up the order entry screen anyway, you know, what purpose did the list play?
So if the user want to scan the form, so that means that they go into the first the default screen of this DevLS, and it's scanning, and they go straight to the detail AP screen of that form, right?
Yeah. I mean, and in some ways, that's something that we can consider, right? Is the list secondary? At the moment, the list is primary. That's the place you go for workflow 2 and 3. And you got no choice. It's the way you get to the way you scan or select something is from the list. But if my action is to scan, and the system finds the available or the matching request, and it just loads the new histo order entry form, what purpose did the list play?
So
Look at.
So I think the use case for the user when they scanning is pretty simple. Like they have electric order, and then they want to like scanning it to check the detail, or like
Complete the details.
Okay.
Yep.
But for the
Check
use
and complete the details. Yep.
But for the use case of checking the list, it might be like they have a lot of items. I assume that maybe they have a lot of items, and they maybe like want to clear the work.
Yeah, maybe they scan something and it's not found, and we will have to work out. I have to double check a few things on how that works in Delphi KP. But what happens if they scan and they can't find, or they're looking for something? That's where your list comes in place. You want to see that you've receipted everything. So I want to see that my list is clear. I want to see, I get a phone call. Have you received my sample? Okay, let me look it up. No, hasn't been receipted yet. I can see we've got the order, but we haven't receipted it yet, so we haven't received the sample. So that's where your list is going to be useful, right? I think we can potentially think differently about our workflow and where the list comes in. We need the list, but where is it appropriate? Another thing to consider about the list is we are currently developing in Delphi KP 2 lists. The reason we're doing 2 lists is because you can't filter these lists in the current Delphi KP. There's no way you can sort of filter on the fly type of thing. And so in scenario 3, when I was talking about, those lists can have thousands. That list could be full of thousands of stuff that might come and it might not come. We're actually going to give them. We're building in a configuration to go. You can configure that after 48 hours. It is removed from the primary list and put into a secondary list, just to try and keep the primary list under control and useful. Whether we need to do the same thing in Evolve, possibly not, because we could use filters to achieve the same thing. We don't have that ability in Delphi KP, so we may not need to replicate that. but
Yeah.
we definitely are going to need the ability to filter that list down to whatever the user wants to say to keep it manageable.
Okay. I want to have one more question. So,
Yep.
so with the workflow 3, when the so if you have a list of order here, and if I scan the order and then I completed the details here, is that still exist in the list, or it could be clear?
Yep. Good question. Yeah. So currently it drops off the list once it's receipted.
Okay.
So again, we can think about our list potentially, how we want the list in the new screen to behave. I probably would say it's the behavior is going to be the same, because we've also got another list. We've got our list, which you can go and search for stuff on. So this list is really about to show you what's waiting, not for a place just to go, I just want to look up Colin Day and see where it is in the process. You would do that in the requested material list, not in the receipting list. So yes, I would say that it's going to drop off the list once it's completed.
So I think this list for workflow 3 might be a place when the users see the lab users see the pending task for them. Maybe they want to
Yes.
finish the task, which is clearing
Yes.
the whole list.
Yes. Yes. And exactly. And the difficulty with that is when you have workflow 3 with the electronic orders, you could have stuff that's in there from 2 weeks ago. That may actually still going to turn up.
Okay.
And so that's so that's the challenge that our customers are facing, and they've said to us, the list is basically it's hopeless. It's too big. We can't use it. Apart from the place we scan when we do get it. But other than that, you have this massive list that just a bit dumb. Can't really manage it. So yeah, we want to give the ability to manage the list. So we might be able to think of new and creative ways to do that. You're building on our status concept. So you could have, when they come in, they have a status of waiting after a certain amount of time. We could have a status of pre-archived, who knows, where we can just filter them out. So if you want to go look, an old one, it's still there, but it's been filtered out. It's been filtered out. You can access it if you search for it in the right way or redo your filtering, but and then potentially even archive things. We might need to give it a status where you can actually manually get it off the list, because it's been 3 weeks old and it's never coming. So that's some of the things we will have to go through, as we get into the actual details of what we want to do in this list. But yeah, that's just sort of from an overview of that concept.
Yeah, so when you say the user want to have a better way to manage the list in here, so how do you think that they want to manage? Like they want to make all of the order from 3 weeks ago to be archived, or some specific way?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's the type of thing. So I want to be able to get rid of stuff. So I only want to see, for example, I just want to see today's, or I want to see yesterday's and today's, or and then yes, it's only we might just say that we go yesterday and today's. There's a configuration where users are able to configure what is, say, a live order and what is an archived order. And you can still reactivate an archived order. to be able to then, actually when you do receive it, but how are we going to make it easy for them to manage that? Now, there's a little bit of that potentially should be by configuration, so it happens automatically.
Okay.
But we've got to give the ability to access the right information at the right time. But with that goal of going, can we make this list relevant to the user? So it's not just a list of hundreds of entries that, well, what's the point of that? If you've got a list with 300 entries in it, well, if they're from, and actually some of our customers, it can be up to 1,000 that are over a 2-week period. It's not really much use. What are you going to do with that list? It doesn't really tell you anything. You can't look at it and go, oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We're expecting 50 more samples coming in today because we've got that. Well, I don't know. I've got thousands of samples in there, and it's just a bit rubbish.
Okay, yeah. So I think the part for the list is pretty clear. So I want to ask more about this kind of
Order entry.
Yeah, order entry view. So
Yep.
so what is the
So-
information, or maybe because you say for me that we want to replicate the design
Yep.
from
So let
the
me,
order entry. So okay,
Yeah, let me share again,
okay, sure.
and we'll just zoom into. Can I zoom into? Copy that so we can make it nice and big. Okay, so essentially same concept, right? It's an order entry screen. We have patient details, and with configurable information, so different. In Delphi KP, we have the ability to have up to 15 different patient IDs. So same concept, configurable patient information, right? That's this section. We have less configurable. In Delphi KP, it's just all there, as you can see here. This is really our order details. Apart from, forget this section for the moment. So I just give myself a box. So forget this bit at the moment. This section all here, if you look through it all, is it's just order information, right? Some different types of order information compared to what we've been building in the order entry screen, but it's still just order information. That's order details that we have in our order entry screen, right? So the process of selecting the patient or editing a patient, updating a patient, confirming a patient is exactly the same. The process of adding in the order details, exactly the same, right? No different.
Yeah.
And just some of those details will be a little bit different. Like you can see tissue management here, for example, which is a very histology focused thing. So yeah, but concept remains the same. The request type in this example, the request type is the test. Okay, so here you can see hospital autopsy. That is the test.
So it's like replacing the test section in the order entry.
Yep.
Okay.
So that is the test. In test from, if you like. Okay, so that's the test. So you can see that it's it is just There's only place for one. You can't in this. You can't even add two. You can't have hospital, autopsy, and surgical and gynae. You can't. You can select one thing only. Right? So in Delphic AP, a request can have only one test.
Okay, so
Okay.
so either autopsy or surgery, right?
So, yeah. So it could be some examples would be surgical, hospital autopsy, gynae, non-gynae. So we can give you a list of some examples. So I mean, it doesn't really matter what they
Yeah.
are. There's probably a dozen tests.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That could be selected, but it's quite small. If you think about that compared to our core lab, where there's hundreds of tests, histo there's not. Okay, and you can only select one. So the important part is then this section here. So if we now forget all this, and forget that, this is the important. And actually, to be honest, I just actually get rid of that. It's even less than that. It is just this specimen types. And this is horribleness. Okay. So what a user has to do, I'll make that a bit big. What a user has to do here is enter in this little box the different specimen types. So think about the same way we've done that in our order entry form. User can just add in this. You can add, you can just select specimens. They will do the same thing here. They know the codes of their specimens, and in Delphic AP, it just adds it in a line along here. So let's say I've got 10 specimens. I add in the first one, and it gets numbered number 1 with the specimen code. Then I add in the second one, it gets number 2, and it just grows a line of text. It just grows a line of text like this. Across, and this box grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. The user can't. The number of the specimen can be important in histology. So I might, let's say I have, what's a good example? Let's say I have 3 polyps, and I added polyp. That's probably a bad example. Maybe 2 polyps in a section, right? They might want polyp to be number 1 specimen, the polyp to be number 2 specimen, and the I don't know, tissue something else, I don't know, to be number 3. But they entered it in tissue, polyp. So tissue became number 1, polyp became number 2, polyp became number 3, and they go, shit, no, I need polyps to be 1, 2, and tissue to be 3. They have to delete it all currently in Delphic AP, because you can't change any of it around. So this idea of adding specimens is what it's all about. Okay. Currently, there is no additional information that they see when they add a specimen. Okay, so if you think about how we are currently adding specimens in our order entry screen, it would match. You add a specimen, it creates the tile, and you with a number, and you could see it. The concept matches quite nicely. What we are considering, though, to do is whether and I think we should add additional information into that specimen. So a little bit like you've done in the case view. If you want to share your screen again and go to the case view.
Okay, so this is the case view.
And yeah, So imagine number one there is, we've called it pot, but pot one and pot two could actually be different specimens. So where we've got our request type, so a request type surgical up the top, perfect, like that's the test. Okay. Specimen type, we could have multiple in there in our request details. It could be biopsy 1, biopsy 2. There could be a list of. It doesn't necessarily only going to be one. Okay, because down here, and it's something actually we may need to add into our material ID in this case view is what the specimen is. It probably is a useful thing to go. Yeah, material pot 1 is, I don't know, polyp. Pot 2 is also a polyp. Pot 3 is an appendix. Do you know what I mean? Like something we can consider to put into here.
Okay.
So if we know pot 1 is polyp, pot 2 is tissue, it is the configuration that says pot 1 gets 3 cassettes, and each of those cassettes gets an H&E, a PAS, and another H&E. So it's you wouldn't have this example is fine for our design work, but you wouldn't have two. You wouldn't cassette level 1. Yep, you wouldn't have two H&Es.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter for now. But so it's back-end configuration that defines that pot 1 being a polyp gets 3 cassettes, 3 blocks made, and those blocks will get 3 slides each by default. Okay, so I think you remember I think you did a real early design on the materials when we were thinking about doing it as cards or tiles.
Yeah. Let me file again. I think this is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, without necessarily the overdue and all that sort of stuff, and the pending and all that sort of stuff, but I was thinking potentially going, if when I request the specimen, would it be? It could be quite nice to say, this specimen is generally this specimen type, because that's what it always is. This specimen type has got the definition of 1 pot, 2 blocks, and there's a procedure. So could we show something like that in the design? I think I'm just trying to find out where I did a real bad mock-up once.
Do you think this one?
See if I can find that.
Do you see my screen? I'm sharing one of your mock-up. Do you see my screen? I'm sharing one of your mock-up.
Yeah. So this was from the case view. Yeah, but think about this was the case view. But think about that tile to be our specimen.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If that, rather than the specimen that we have for the core, could the specimen for histo provide The detail, yeah. So these ones that I was playing around with. So your one's a bit nicer, obviously, but you know, it goes. I've added an appendix. It's number 1. This is the request ID it's got. It's programmed to have 2 blocks and these stains. This is what it's just pulling back the information from the core system to say, you've added an appendix. This is what an appendix gets.
Yeah.
Because that is all pre-configured. Then we can potentially, in the future we could allow people to change that, but that's probably don't need to do that at the moment. But, we could consider that. Whereas at the moment, as I showed you, you really just get that. It is just a line where you can add sequentially what you've got. So, we're just trying to give them more detail, and whether I've got a number as a drop down there, but would it be that you could just actually maybe one's appendix, one's polyp, if I could just drag that tile and put it in the first position, does that change it to number 1 before I've pressed save? So how could we, because that's a requirement, I need to change the order of the specimens that I've entered it in. So how could that, because that's ultimately going to drive, if you go back to your case view, that 25 HS0095/1/2/3, the order of it will actually be what creates the complete request number, and all the flow on request number, all the flow on material numbers that come from that afterwards.
So how important is that ordering?
Can be important, apparently. Sometimes sometimes they just want to delete one.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they want to reorder it, and if they need to delete number 1, they have to delete number 4, 3, 2 to get to 1. They can't just delete number 1.
Okay.
So I think it's a little bit about adding and deleting rather than necessarily the order, but I mean, I would make it so that they can, I don't care, you can drag them around, make whatever order you want. If you need to change it, you can change it, you can delete them, you can add them, similar to what we've done with specimens already. You can delete the specimen, you can add another specimen. So our core concept that we have already for specimens is good. I don't think that needs to change. It's just what we are going to display needs to change, and what's the best way to not deviate too much from our overall order entry design, but to display the details that we want for histology samples.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
We can, other thing to consider, you can get a very large number of specimens. So sometimes it might be useful to give them the ability to go add the same specimen at times 50, so they don't have to enter it 50 times. They can just enter it, and if they want to do a number, it would add the same specimen type that many times. So a slight little variation on how we potentially could add multiple specimens.
So the current way of adding more specimen in here for order entry is we have an input and then the user typing the specimen code. So do you think that will still apply in here?
Yep, I think that's perfect. And I think that's going to be the right way to do it. And have the ability to search like we have done currently in the specimen field. So if you don't know what it is, search it up. All that stays the same. So they're going to enter it, find it, enter, find it, enter, find it, enter. So it is a manual enter thing that they are going to do here. That will remain the same. we want to bring in a variation that how can we make it easy for them to enter multiples? And it's not when it's 2 or 3, it's when it's 20. Do you want them to have to go appendix 20 to, you don't have 20 appendixes, but, appendix 20 times, or they can just go appendix and then select a number. So it just automatically does that for them.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Yep. Then all the other things that we've been talking about with order entry are going to be satisfied. Like we're going to be able to duplicate an order. All those things that we've already sort of thought about for order entry with the design. With the right-hand side, being able to look at the previous, a previous request, duplicate it, all that sort of stuff's going to be relevant for histo.
Okay, cool.
So really, for me, it's about how can we tackle the test? So for histo, does test even go into the order details? So does the test become an order detail? Because the test is really quite still relevant, but it's a very less relevant thing. Do you need a whole test panel like that? Or could test become part of the order details, and then we can save on that? Or is it that, test is defaulted and it's always there's surgical like that unless you go in, if you're registering multiple, it just stays on the last? So any thoughts about how we could vary the entry for test? Because as I said, it's only ever going to be one, and there's very few options of tests. And then just how we make the specimen panel good.
Yeah, so if we only need to type in one test in here, so I think this kind of display where we typing the test code in here is not relevant anymore. But I think maybe I can do like two options, like putting the test on top or in the test and specimen section, so that we can see how it will look like. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, and then with the specimen tile, see what you think. We are not going to, for histo, we're not going to pre-populate like we have in the core. So we're not going to anticipate what the specimen is based on the test. It's going to be, they're going to enter it every single time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So don't worry about what the order details are made up of. I mean, they're just fields, right? So not too worried that they're in the mock-up you do, just until we get a concept that those fields may not make sense. We just have to think about, we do have order details. There will be a number of fields in there. How do we put it all together?
Oh, I have one question. So for the specimen part, do we have the receive or not receive concept?
No, because we're not pre-populating it. So you will, the received or not received is if they don't receive the specimen, they won't enter it in. So you always have to receive a specimen. I mean, it wouldn't come down without it. So we're not going, this test, sodium, potassium, chloride, you're expecting a yellow top tube, so we can, that's what needs to be run off, so we can populate that. We're going, no, it's surgical. You enter what you've received. So there's no need to confirm that you received it. If you enter it in, you entered it in.
Yeah, okay. So I think
How we whether you want to keep in the same theme that it's that it's got a somewhat green banner to show that it's received. I don't mind it. We try and keep it in the same theme as previous, but yeah, they don't need a received or not received button. Definitely need a delete.
Yeah.
Yep, and we definitely need the not necessarily like I've done it in a number drop down, but it does need the number of the specimen. Like what the order that you've added it in. So that's going to be specimen 1, that's going to be specimen 2, that's going to be specimen 3. Because that drives the sample number, if you like, the pot material number.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think that's enough for me. Okay.
Okay, good. Yep. And if you have any questions along the way, just send me a message and we can either jump on a call or I can just answer you as we go.
Yes. Okay, sure. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you
No
for
worries.
the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, hon.
Yeah, see ya.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.